Hello folks, L.A. Little here with TA Today, bringing you neoclassical technical analysis on a regular basis, giving you trading ideas, setups, and thoughts about where this market is and where it's going. Let's get into it. Hey folks, L.A. here. I've been on vacation, as you know, and I'm back, and this market looks like it's back, and we're going to look at uranium because uranium looks like maybe just now it's finally turned the corner. So let's take a look at it. We're going to start here with UUN, which is like the the primary. It's the Sprott Physical, so it's the primary go-to when you're looking at these charts. And what I see here is, this nice big, well, let's go back. We thought we might have something going when we got over the bearish retest region, which was here, right? So there was a bearish retest region. Let me map it out for you. It was right there. We got over it here, and I was like, okay, this is starting to do something, right? And then we like break back underneath, and then we get this nice spike up to the swing point high here, and then it just crashes down, right? And I actually wrote, I'm not sure where, but I know I wrote somewhere, and I said, is this, they take it down to take it up? A lot of times you see that, right, where you finally get that flush, and that's it. And sure enough, this thing goes back up, and then bang, spikes up and breaks that swing point high. So we're now dealing with this particular swing point high, and you've got one over here. This is the critical one. You get over this, right, and stay over it, and didn't quite do it. But if you get over it and stay over it, right, then you're going to have two swing point highs that you're testing back into. Now, this one's being tested already. We're already back into it, given Friday's drop. And so that tells me that, there's a little bit more work to do here, but this was a very positive signal. Now, I don't want to sound the alarm bells or anything, but this is still preliminary. It hasn't happened yet, so we have to wait for it to happen. But if you get over that, what are you going to do? You're probably going to break this one as well. That one's key. If you can get over that, right, then you've churned the weekly, and that's very critical because, this has been basically, if you go back, this is really sort of a sideways range here. You could pull it up a little tighter, maybe about right there. It hasn't tested the bottom of the range, definitely tested the top, but it's trying to come back up here and test the top again. Well, the only way you get there is you break a swing point high on the weekly. And then you got that one, and then after that, right, you're going after the low, which is this price point right there, right? And if you can get over that, the low of the high, then of course you can go back to the high. Now remember, that has volume. So, in my work, something that has volume, once you get back into it, you're probably going to get the tops. And that would be the fantastic run, right, that we're all waiting on. So long term, still doing what it's supposed to. I mean, still holding, right? Retest, regen, trying to regenerate. And, there's nothing wrong with that. If you go back, we had this once before where you got over swing point highs, you jam up, and then what do? You come back and you test. And then you regenerate. Well, you make a new high, or actually you make a high, break a swing point high. What are you doing? You're retesting. So it's, everything that's going on the longer term still makes me want to be invested. I've never let go of that, the long positions that I have both in the UUN and the SRUUF, which is the US listing of the same symbol. This one, of course, has the exchange rate differential, and it works to your advantage when the dollar is cheapening, which is starting to happen again. So if I were trying to pick which one I'd be in, I'd probably pick this one. And actually, if you look at my portfolio, I'm more heavily in this than the other. I have both, but this is the one I'm most heavily in. This one's broken the swing point high. You can see it got over it here. It broke here and there. And that. Now it's coming into a bearish retest region, right? Did a full retest, fell back. This one's going to, you got two swing point highs here that's going to come back into now. If you remember, for the last Well, you don't have to remember, you can see it here. Let me just clean this up. But for the last, 6 months, this has been a wall that you couldn't get over, right? We get over it right at the beginning, but then once we fell below it, we just couldn't get back over it. And that's about 1920 to 1930. So I would not be surprised to see us get back in, test this, test that, right? And that's where we should find support. It should be around $19 or higher is where we should expect that support to come in. That's where I'm looking for it. If I were wanting to buy or to accumulate, that's probably where I do it if this comes in and starts to move back the other way. So that's what I'm looking at. You can go look at the stocks. Stocks are starting to do the same thing. I'll take the biggest one first, which is Cameco. You can see now Cameco, again, if you go on the long-term time frame, right? This one never has done anything wrong, right? Now, this was a dangerous setup way back here, where you had 2 swing point highs, but then it just jammed off of it and went up. This is a high up here. This is your low. It hasn't been able to break either one. It's just inside of a range. And right now it's trying to move back to the top side. This is your strongest, biggest stock. This is where the money flows to when people believe uranium is working higher. Up 12.75% last week. Broke over a swing point high, still in a retest regen. The way you get a turn, longer term turn, is you have to start on the shorter term time frame. So you want to see this shorter term time frame take out bearish retest regens. You didn't have, this is the first one. Sometimes these are the first things that get taken out. Sometimes the swing point highs are the first things that get taken out. It just depends on the chart. In this particular case, it's a swing point high. Testing into the second one. If you get over 2 of them, you're in pretty good shape because that turns this to bullish. Right now it's sideways. And if you look long term, still bullish. You're just turned bearish on the on the intermediate term time frame. That's where you have your bearish retest regens. Price point there, 99.08. Price point here, 101.58. So you get over about 101.58, and you've broken 2 retest regens, and that says, hey, this thing's probably turning. That's the sort of thing you're looking for. Let's look at a couple others. I'm not going to go through them all. Here's Denison. Same thing, right? Doing exactly the same thing. This was up a little bit more, 14.5% last week. Let's go to NXE. You can see almost the same picture. You got a couple of them. This one made a faster move because it had already turned like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So if I'm looking for something to invest in and I don't have anything, or I want to add more, where do I add? Well, I add where it's strongest. Well, where is it strongest? This did a bullish retest regen, right? And immediately turned. That test, if you go over here, that test was a test of this low. It broke it, got back over it already. So it's already done the bearish retest regen failure, right? It's already gotten over that on the weekly. It's already gotten over that. And if you go over here, this one started turning a lot sooner. You can see the turn, right? You got a low down here, a low down here, and then it just takes off and it breaks swing point highs. This is stronger. This is a stronger stock. Is it going to continue to be stronger? You don't know that, but it's a stronger stock. Up 14% last week. Up, what is that? Low was 859. You're at 1050. It's 2 on 8.5. That's 20% almost, 18%. So you can see how much stronger it's been compared to everything else. And you can go down the list here. Some other popular ones, UEC, you can see here doing the same sort of thing. URA, again, one of the stronger ones. Nice strong move here. Up 15% last week. This one turned sooner than others. In other words, it had relative strength to the other ones, right? That's kind of what you're looking for. And let's go. This is one I've had a favorite for a long time, UUUU. I like it because it's both in the uranium space as well as the resource space for rare earths in processing and exploration. This one hasn't done as well It hasn't shown relative strength compared to the others, but it's starting to move. It was up 23.5% last week. It was beaten down pretty bad, came into a retest regen. A lot of work to do. There's going to be supply overhead. Realize that there's supply overhead in all of these. And, you know, how fast it cuts through that supply just depends on how deep the supply line is. And we'll see that pretty soon. It's not going to take a long time to figure it out. So, in summary, it looks to me like we've turned, right? And I've thought this before, so I want to be careful with my words here, but it looks like we've turned. Is this going to just skyrocket? It could, right? Because when momentum gets going, yes, it could. Seasonality is favorable now, right? This is a favorable time of the year. Will these come back in? I don't know how much, but yeah, I think they may come back in a little bit more. But if they come back in a little bit more and you see that bid start hitting it and they start shooting back up, then that's telling you the turn is probably in. So my take here is we probably have a turn. My personal position, I have a very large position in uranium Sprott Physical in both U.S. and Toronto listings, and I have my largest other position is the UUUU. That's where I think the biggest bang for the buck will be if these things turn. So that's where I'm at. I hope you're still hanging in there. I took a pretty big drawdown on UUU. Sometimes you have to do that. That was pretty nasty on the way down, right? Cut off 60% of its value. So I added back to it at lower prices. And we'll see where it goes. You have a great one. I'll see you next time. Take care.